All right, now we're going to go ahead and go over here what we can find as far as the massive amount of options and lineups here and spreads and so forth, and winning teams and scenarios for playoff as much as we can to dive into, as it's pretty easy, as you can pretty much listen to around the industry and look at, what experts are saying fantasy football, particularly on Fanduel. We're looking at to see, as you can pretty obviously put a lot of this information together as far as who's playing, chalk player, most played players, and look at all that. But we're going to do that and then spend more time even as necessary on the tournaments, which are not going to be giving you specific lineup as in this case here, or watch players like right here with the stud players that I just clicked on to show you. But we'll spend more time in the tournament area of the NFL, and then we'll get into the NHL, show you some cash game, but maybe a potential tournament lineup for NHL as well. So that'll cut it short for you if you want to stop watching there. If you just do NFL, that's fine. So I'm in the main slate on FanDuel right now for Sunday, as I'm going to pay particular attention to a couple of things. One is that I don't want to play too many players, or just play them more sparingly, at least, that are playing in division rival matchups, not necessarily rivalry, but just, teams that have played each other before, because I don't like those. They're usually scoring under the over-under in their matchups. So I don't want to play too many of those. So I'm going to show you here what else I have in cash, and also considering that the fact of the reality is that football is a highly volatile sport. A lot of things can happen. Anything can happen. Any team, any player, especially at the wide receiver position and even tight end, can score on any day, as we've seen in the past week, really throughout the season. So there's not a whole lot you can rely on. There's a lot of variance. So all you're trying to really do is honestly break even in the amount of money that you spend or invest in, if you will, on such contests as these, and then see if you can bankroll, a few dollars on up to a few $1,000s in the tournament as a goal. So keeping that in mind, what you want to do here is watch some of these players, put them into your pool, as I'll come up with a lineup here, such as Ezekiel Elliott. They are expected to have the lead in their total, and I'm trying to get the over-under here real quick on another screen, not showing, but Dallas here. Yes, 7.5 point spread right now. It appears to me that probably lowered just a bit, and a total of 48, as Dallas, as many people know, slows the ball down, runs it, uses Elliott, and gets him involved, even if they don't. In a worst case scenario, I don't see that happening, but not scoring a touchdown, Ezekiel will get his. So you can count on him, lock him in there. Not a problem at all. All green to go all across the board as far as all indications. No red flags there with Elliott. Moving on. We do have here next to consider Matt Ryan at quarterback. Now, if you ideally want to do at least 5 lineups in cash, that would be a good idea. Because as we saw last week, if you put your cash in chalk, which last week was really Tom Brady, you didn't get anything much back at your quarterback position. But here now, the strategy best to do is to diversify that and get yourself 5 different quarterbacks who score well, that are studs, especially last game 3 average, I know, such as with, let me show you here. I have this on my site, wealthyfantasyfootball.com. You can look it up. And what you see right now in there is the 16-week number DFS cash game rankings for FanDuel. You can use it for DraftKings as well, but especially for FanDuel. So you can look at here and go down to, for example, the quarterbacks. As just in this format off of this device I'm using, it just looks a little funny, a little skewed over here to the right, but it may look fine on your computer. So. But looking at, as I was getting into Ryan, his coefficient variation, this being a lower number, which is good, down in the range of Roethlisberger, who's even better, but you're going to pay a lot for him as the highest priced quarterback. But the last 3 game per point average, the past 5 games, averaging 19.4 per game on a season, even better, 22.3. So as long as he keeps playing, of course, and doesn't get benched for any reason, I don't really foresee it happen, I suppose. but Ryan, you know, just fine for a cash game play, as his coefficient variation or his standard consistency in his scoring is just fine. So you can do that. As you can see here, there are some other options in consistency. Breeze not so much because they're getting geared for the playoffs, maybe perhaps running the ball more, battling some tough defenses even though they're at home. But as we can probably already start to see, he's a great tournament option. Mayfield also down in that range. Russell Wilson. So Mahomes, if you're playing, if you can afford him, playing him, I suppose. Yeah, no, that's not. I don't think that's an option on the main slate. So not going there. But Trubisky, and then so these are Watson and Andrew Luck. So you got at least 5 guys there to round out the quarterbacks in your cash lineup. So, and just showing here, if you want to see, you know, taking out the Saturday slate, I believe that's a 431. Taking that out. Sorry, I should have included it, not taking it out. Let's see here. Okay, let's just leave it at that. This has the rocket arm or overall efficiency passer rating here on this sheet. You just sort of descending. You got Dak Prescott topping out at the top there, along with Wilson that I mentioned, Mayfield. I'm not really sure and comfortable with Prescott. I don't know how you feel about it, but Prescott's not really in my regular cash game lineups. He has limited upside, in my opinion, even for a cash game lineup. So I'm going to get back over here, get back to where I was at, looking at just going to finish out showing you some of the main cash plays, so I don't put too much time on it. Robert Woods, he's fine. He's been a target monster the past 3 games. Even in the game script of last week, the Eagles kind of getting shut down in the offensive passing system that they have. And then looking on at Ertz, he's fine as he gets into the slot and should be fine. You know, tight ends, it's like the 8th worst against tight ends. So it's really an okay matchup to put Ertz. Kind of spend up at tight end, spend up at running back, and spend down as much as you can at quarterback, and then as much as you have to at wide receiver. Cooper you can include compared to DraftKings. I noticed here Cooper is very price worthy to put him in, matchup worthy, all things across. Should get enough targets, at least 7 past 3 games. Probably going to get more here versus that Tampa defense. All right, so there you have it out, rounded out. Let me just check again to make sure none of these were those, as I mentioned, you know, defensive battle type rivalry or you know, division games, which would include Ryan. So I may want to take him out. Michael Thomas, if we can afford him, he's fine to put in there versus Pittsburgh. Let's see what other quarterbacks we're going to leave Watson in there. He should be fine. You know, I'm just going to take Ryan out. We don't need him. And we're not going to need Rodgers or Trubisky versus San Francisco. That's looking pretty good, so we're going to put him in there instead. All right. So that could go over let's see, the total there. San Francisco, Chicago. Total 43. Chicago favored by 4.5. That's just fine, even though Trubisky's on the road. I didn't get a chance to look at his splits, but you can kind of look here, at least last 5 versus San Francisco. He hasn't played them, but that doesn't include the home road splits. You know, really, it would have been nice if this was included here. Let's see, fantasy points, Vegas lines, projections, 2018 stats. As this doesn't have that. So it's something that you just have to generally research and let yourself know what those are. Kind of go back through all those. We're not going to do that right now. But it's kind of safe to say that he should be all right, to my knowledge. So let's go with who else we need here to round out. We need our sleepers. Get our low-price guys as options here, as we need to look at guys like Allen Robinson, perhaps at wide receiver versus the San Francisco defensive backfield. That should be fine, as a lot of times you can get a good matchup there with those cornerbacks. Let's see who else. Jarvis Landry, he's been a target monster. So you can even do him in cash, that's fine. It's not like anybody else is really that safe anyway at wide receiver. Curtis Samuel, You could get him, perhaps if Heineke works out, for the quarterback position on the cheap, if you need him. Robbie Anderson, you could do maybe DJ Moore if like I said, if you want to, or trust Heineke. That's always iffy. Nick Foles is fine really at the quarterback position versus a Houston defense, at least they're at home, so we can kind of back that up. Let's see here. As he is recommended by other sources, online and so forth. As we're just sorting these out quickly as we can. We got our Njoku already watched versus that division rival, but great matchup versus the tight end position, which shows here. Next opponent position, defensive rank 23. So Jamal Williams, great cash option. He's healthy enough where versus the Jets defense, he should get some yards off on them. Not a problem there. He's only running back. Same with Elijah McGuire. He's really looking like the Jets even favored in this game, perhaps, as well. So not by a lot, of course, but let's see. Jets, 47-point total. Green Bay now favored by 3. So that swung over to Green Bay. The Jets are no longer, but that's fine. McGuire even gets some work in the passing work. 4 targets the past couple of games, so he's a great option. And let's see if we can find anybody else. Eric Ebron, almost always a good option at tight end, even though sometimes, like last week, he gave you a 0, but not to worry. Let's see here. I'm just scanning to see if I want anybody else. Ingram with Shepard being inefficient to wide receiver and no Shepard. No Beckham Jr. And then so we got Ingram as an option as a focal part of that offense. So not a bad deal there. But I need to head over back to the quarterback position. Not top players. Well, we can look at that, but just to make sure we don't miss anybody in particular. I'm not going to pay up for Ben. Devontae Adams, we're not going to be able to afford. I mean, we know just watch and see if we can fit him in anyways, but Joe Mixon, we're not going to really need to go there, even though he's the only guy in the offense really for the division foe. We can go there as well. Let's see. We got Chubb. That's looking good. Hopkins versus Philly. Give him to me. Give me, let's see, last few games, targets for Diggs. I don't like that game versus Detroit. Too much of a division slowdown, low-scoring game. Landry, though, I'm fine with. Is that looking fine? I'm going to take Cook out because of that reason I mentioned already. Let's see who else. Mac, I'm going to go ahead and include on cash games. Home favorite versus the Giants. Defense not so good. The linebacker hurting out. The main linebacker, can't recall his name, but he's out. And then we got, let's see who else. As I already thought about and prepared a lot of these players beforehand, so really just kind of weeding out maybe the players we don't want or want and so forth. Versus the Pittsburgh defense, I'm not really caring for the matchup with Kamara, even though he gets good targets and carries. Let's see who else we can get here. Yeah, so we need to just get back to the quarterback and finish this up here. And also we're going to kind of see what obviously defenses the system gives us here in these matchups. So let's see now. We got 25 players watched. Let's see if we got enough quarterbacks. We're going to go ahead and give ourselves 10 lineups to round out the cash and see what happens here, okay? We're not worried about stacking, of course, in the tournaments, but we're going to talk about that here in the next segment of the tournament. So I just want to make sure we got really 5 quarterbacks watched. We got Watson, Trubisky, Mayfield, Prescott. We'll have to play in there. We don't have to, but Foles. And then if we want to play Heineke, I'm going to take out Prescott because I don't like it. I don't think he's going to get enough rushing yards, enough passing yards, enough anything in this game, to be honest with you. All right, so we're going to go with those 5 guys. Taylor Heineke in a good matchup will really save a lot on his salaries there. Nick Foles. We're going to go with Mayfield, Trubisky, and Watson as more of our Studley type quarterbacks. And, we could go, let's see here. Let's compare for a moment.